I'd like to start off with three little stories. The first goes back to about 180 years ago. An English novelist who is very deeply involved in social reform and concern for those who are poor and marginalized in England at the time, writes a novel about a mean, twisted old man, greedy and unkind to everybody, who calls Christmas bah humbug. Some of you may know the story, A Christmas Carol. If you haven't, go read it. Or go and see one of the many film versions. Because the story really is about how one man can change. How one man is given a new opportunity to move beyond a world that is torn and twisted in on himself, a miserable world, into something different, reaching out. And it all happens at Christmas. 111 years ago, Europe was once again at war. And the forces of the Allies and the Axis were literally a few yards away from each other in trenches. And on Christmas night, some of the English troops heard Silent Night being sung in German. And they responded in English. And in the end, they said, the hell with this. And so they literally got out of their trenches, met in the middle, and they had Christmas together. The next day, it was back to blowing each other to pieces, sad to say. That's the reality we live with. You know, miracles sometimes are just moments that challenge us to imagine if that could be the whole year. And then about 70 years ago, a wonderful movie came out. Also, once again, about a man who had great ambitions. But because of circumstances, he never leaves his hometown. And he's totally depressed. He feels his life is a failure. He was going to be an architect. He was going to be an adventurer, an explorer. And he spent his life running basically a savings bank. And things just escalate to the point where he contemplates suicide. And an angel second class named Clarence, he's second class because he hasn't got his wings yet, is sent to try and prevent this man, George, from killing himself. A movie called It's a Wonderful Life. I think you can get it free on YouTube. Once again, go watch it. Three stories that have nothing directly to do with Christmas, but all are set around Christmas. For me, that's something worth noting. There is something about Christmas that touches a raw nerve in every kind of person. Whether you are religious or not, whether you're Christian or not, something about Christmas. And isn't that another way of saying, in many and various ways, God spoke to us, continues to speak to us. The great beginning of the Gospel of John, which I'm not going to do an exegesis of, but which just strikes me always. God is present. The Word is present in us and through us from the very beginning, from that moment, that spark called the Big Bang. Onwards, God is present. The Word is with us. And the Word becomes flesh, dwells among us, but not as some kind of conquering hero, not some great monarch, not some tycoon, working on their $3 trillion. No, an ordinary child, born to very ordinary poor people in a town on the edge of a rather probably second-class city compared to other great cities of the Roman Empire, on the very edge of the Roman Empire. That's the way God works. That's the way God enters our history. God doesn't come in with combat boots. God comes in subtly. God comes in and invites us to consider. God enters our vulnerability as a vulnerable child. God enters our history as a nobody. God enters our lives. And all the way through, we have given the option. We can stay like Scrooge all our lives. We can get disillusioned and depressed about perhaps things haven't worked out as we wanted. Or we can change. Christmas reminds us, every one of us can change. May we change this Christmas. May Christ, born in a manger, change us.